Hey, and welcome to another episode of RevivalFlix, where we try to find some classic films, some old ones, and we try to watch them again and review them, but with today's perspective on how media works and how our culture, our multimedia culture has shifted great, I would say highly, right? And also to address a few criticisms that I hear a lot in the internet saying that there are no good new movie productions and so on. I don't personally share that opinion, but it's out there. Anyway, today's film, it's a brand new film actually, Masters of the Universe. So it just came out. So you're probably wondering, well, why am I reviewing this brand new film? Well, this is a channel that doesn't always review classic ones, reviews also new ones, but this one has a connection, an obvious connection with the 1980s cartoon, right? He-Man. So this is the first reason, but the second reason also why I can review like new movies because I'm also into weird weird films. So that there can be like a weird film that I'm going to review it. So so prepare for that. Anyway, this one, going back to this one. So Masters of the Universe. I actually watched twice this film already. So I watched last week when it was released, and I watched actually yesterday also. I will talk about the reasons why I watched it twice. But anyway, I see that it has been receiving negative criticism, especially by the influencers, at least in my country. So I'm not sure actually. Well, okay. So in IMDb, it has a rating of 7.1, which is not bad, right? Um, but it's not doing so well in revenue. So the budget was 170 million, and up till now it's about 62 million, right? So still a long way to come. I'm not sure if it was just unlucky, with a bunch of films that it was released in the same weekend, and it's probably shares the same target audience, like Scream Six or whatever. But anyway, so this one has been receiving negative criticism. I'm not sure if the influencers that are criticizing. Maybe they're younger. I mean, let's start with my full disclosure, right? So I'm 48 years old, and so I grew up actually watching He-Man, in the TV. So I can safely say that it was part of my childhood, and also like basically like a daily. It was a daily show. At least here, it was a daily show, right? So I do have like an emotional connection to it, and also another another detail that I should mention is that, well, it's very hard for me to find like a very bad film, that I simply you know just said, oh, this is not worth it or whatever. I'm not sure if it's because I already work with a little bit of animation, or maybe I also attempted to work with the film industry at some point. But anyway, I do have like a tolerance or an understanding, like try to see the intent of not only the director, but other production members, of the film. And anyway, this film has been receiving these negative criticism. I'm not sure if the influencers are like maybe younger, and they didn't actually capture what the intent was, about this film, or maybe they're, well, I didn't see fully, the criticism about the negative criticism about it, to see if maybe some things there make sense. But anyway, let's start with the basic data. So IMDb 7.1. I already thought that this was fair. It was a fair rating for the public, right? So so the original one, I mean, not the original one, the first attempt of of making Masters of the Universe was a film in 1987, starring Dolph Lundgren. Everybody should already know about this one. But anyway, I checked out, how the rating on that one, how the rating on that one was. So it's currently at 5.4, and it is a terrible film. I mean, I would even give it a four. It's one of those films. I mean, it's very rare that I walk away from the theater and so on. This is one of them. Not the current one, not the modern one, the old one, 1987. So so it was such a letdown because I was, like, I had such high expectations, for that film, and it was really, really terribly done, from everything, not only acting wise, but also the storyline. It was very distant from the cartoon and whatever. So yeah, so that was a big letdown. So I don't even consider the new one to be a remake of that one. This is, for me, is like a brand new, fresh uh, interpretation of the cartoon series, right? So yeah, so let's jump into the crew. Okay, so we have a lot of details to talk about. So let's start with the director. So Travis Knight. I wasn't familiar with him, and then I again, IMDb is my main source. Like, to see everything that an actor and a director, a writer had done in the past and so on. And sometimes I'll even go and watch a few of his earlier productions, to see, oh, how was he able, like, to build up his career to get a chance of directing a film like this. I mean, a film like this, not only for the budget, 170 million, but it was a big bet, right? So it was a big bet, and it's like a worldwide known story, right? So this is a lot of responsibility. But anyway, he had already directed Bumblebee, which I liked very much. I mean, I liked most of the Transformer franchise films, but Bumblebee, it stood out for me. I mean, the first one was amazing. Bumblebee, I would put maybe as my second favorite. So that was from 2018. Actually, didn't have a review very aligned with what my rating would be. It's like 6.7 in IMDb. And then he has a film which is high rated, called Kubo and the Two Strings. Maybe it's an animation. I'm not sure, but this one I'm gonna check out. 7.7 in IMDb. Anyway, what I noticed, not only about the director but also about the writers, I'm going to mention the writers quickly afterwards. But anyway, what I noticed is that they didn't have so many films, on their portfolio. But the director, specifically the director Travis Knight, he actually had an extensive career in the animation, as an in the animation role. So I mean, no huge, like, highlights, as like a very successful, like, animated film or whatever. I'm gonna actually go through that list again when I have some time, like, to see if I can pick, like, something something really old that he has done, and maybe worth even reviewing. But just for the fact that he has, like, an animation background, and he's the director, so that means for sure, that he was into the He-Man animated series, as like, maybe a teen or a childhood or whatever. So he probably knows the spirit of how this film should be, right? So this was a big, actually, eye opener for me. And then I started to think, then reflect, about how the movie was, basically the outcome of the movie, right? I'm suspecting that the negative criticism is something to do with maybe comparison to modern superhero films. But I'm going to get really deep into that later in my review. But let's go to the writers. So the writers, we have Chris Butler, and then we have Aaron Nee and Adam Nee. So they're probably brothers, and they also have a short career. I mean, Adam Lee actually is also an actor, but he has maybe more films, on his portfolio. But Aaron Nee and Chris Butler also kind of like only few movies, right? And then I started thinking, how could they, like, put, like, so much responsibility of to fresh new, not I wouldn't say fresh new, like directors or writers and so on. I mean, he did do very well with Bumblebee, but I mean, the list, of their films is not so extensive, but that was no problem at all. I think they did a great job. I'm going to go deeper into that. But then I started seeing, like the rest of the production crew. So the rest of the production crew, which were I would say aspects that stood out for me, in the theaters. Uh, the sound score for sure. So I looked up the composer. It's Daniel Pemberton. Of course, I'm not gonna know, each one of these, like by name. I had to look it up and see, what they had done in the past. So yeah, he did have an extensive, list. So Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, a lot of TV shows and games. Addington, which I reviewed in this channel. I think it's worth for you to check out that review. And Project Hail Mary, that I watched actually very recently, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. Good movie, but I actually didn't review it in the channel by purpose. I think it's probably has like a bunch of maybe deep reviews, in the internet, because I know that there's a book, before and whatever, and so I wasn't so familiar, with those kind of details. So I actually opted, like not to review it. But anyway, good films on his portfolio. But then we have cinematographer and the production design. So cinematographer, which stood out very very much in the film, and the production design. So Fabian Wagner. So on his list is Zack Snyder's Justice League, and also the Justice League film. So Game of Thrones. Well, I could stop there, right? So Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, The Crown, Venom, and then for production design, we have Guy Hendricks Diaz, or Diaz, probably Diaz. So X-Men 2, The Brothers Grimm. I mean, these films have their own, like artistic style. Superman Returns, I thought it was actually good. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skulls, and well, who can top Inception, right? So these are heavyweights. So these are heavyweights in terms of production. And I love the fact that they put like heavyweights like this, like in the core production of the film, along with kind of like uh, I wouldn't say like newbies, but they really don't have those many films, in their portfolio. And that mix, I thought it was actually great. A great idea and a great outcome. Okay, so let's move to the actors. So the actors, we have Nicholas Galitzine. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that name. So I looked at his films. I mean, he does have a bunch of films there, but none of them that I could recall. Then we have Camila Mendes. Also, no films that I could recall. But then we had like heavyweights, like Idris Elba and Jerry Leto, right? So Idris Elba, of course, who could forget The Wire, and then Jerry Leto, Suicide Squad, which I didn't watch, and then Dallas Buyers Club, which I watched and I loved. So again, they put like kind of like a mix, of like heavyweight um, actors, with like newcomers, at least for blockbusters. For blockbusters, these are newcomers, and this mix, I think it did something, in the chemistry in the film. Well, let's go deeper into that in just a minute. So let's talk about the review about the movie itself. The only reason I could see, like influencers giving maybe a negative criticism about this one, is that maybe they're comparing to the new superhero films. So let's step back a bit and maybe, like think about what happened, like especially with superhero films, right? So they had like multiple waves of the superhero films. So they had like one first wave that they tried, like to mimic, like the comics, or maybe, like the TV series and so on. And it was kind of like faithful in that atmosphere, in that storyline and whatever, right? So then we had like a second and third and fourth wave, which they try to reinterpret or give it like even a darker atmosphere, like to capture not only, like the young audience, but also the older audience. I think one of the first ones they were very successful with that was the 1989 Batman from Tim Burton. So he was audacious with that, because not only with all the visuals that kind of like went away from that traditional TV series, so he created his own universe there and so on. So he was very successful with that. And also, so other, like other heroes attempted to do the same, like giving like a deeper meaning, like a deeper emotional connection, an emotional maybe incentive, for the main character or whatever. So, and of course, a lot of violence and whatever. So these were like second and third wave, right? Uh, Converting, like these comics or TV series into films. So if you compare this film to, or if you expect, right, to go into this film and have also this dark reinterpretation, right, from He-Man, you're gonna get let down. So that's not what happened here. And honestly, I think it shouldn't be what was supposed to happen here, because in my opinion, we can fully discard, the 1987 film for sure. We can fully discard that. I don't consider even that an attempt for the first wave of like translating, into a film, into a feature film. So this for me is like the first legitimate attempt, like to really translate the animated series into a feature film. And I must say, I was really impressed. I was really impressed. So I'm already spoiling, like what I think about the film. So so if you go into the film knowing about that, like not to expect, like a superhero film, dark, you're gonna get like another sense about it, because this in my opinion was very close to the spirit of the animated series. So to start with, I think they hit very well with that. But still, like with the first, like okay, so maybe connecting with the first attempt of the making of the film, they did manage, like to create a plot that makes a connection, with Earth, right? So maybe that's the only connection, but otherwise, you can expect something very, very close to the animated series. So if you are, one of those fans, I don't think you're gonna be let down. But don't go in, like thinking that this is like it's gonna be like a dark, and maybe Skeletor is going to be that, awful dark, villain and whatever, and he has issues. No, it's nothing like that. But I'm gonna explain more in details what's that about. But let's talk about like the initial highlights that I noticed. So we have little Adam, right, in the film. I thought he was a highlight. I even checked out, like his IMDb page. He has actually a film called A Visit to Grandpa's, which is it stars Anthony Hopkins, but I'm not sure if it's released or it's in the making or if it was canceled or whatever. But I really didn't understand what happened to that film. But anyway, I thought he was really good. He was really, really good. And then still about the casting, I think the casting was overall very well picked. So so we had the only one that I actually wasn't really a fan of was Alison Brie, which played Evil-Lyn, right? I think that there were like other very, very I would say like maybe closer to the character that could have been picked. They're very, very good ones that could have played that part. I thought that she was she wasn't into the character as much as I would like her to. I mean, other ones, I mean, maybe comparing to the other ones, the other ones were fully into the character. I think she maybe, she at some point, wasn't like firm enough or like strong enough or like malevolent enough, you know. Evil-Lyn is kind of like a one of the main, villains in the animated series. So that was, if I have to do like a negative criticism, she would be my pick. But anyway, let's continue with other highlights. So we had, like, in the Earth part, we had like a character called Susie. I thought she was really really funny. So this is a I would put, like, even in the comedy, category. Of course, fantasy stands out, like the most, but this movie is funny. This movie is funny. If you're gonna watch it with your kids and so on, I think you're gonna have a blast. And also, it's not only for kids, right? There's comedy here in this film that probably only grown-ups will understand, because it has to do with criticism, about stuff, modern stuff that's been going on and whatever. But it's a light criticism that even, I would say, like, both sides of the spectrum would not only laugh with, but also agree to. Yeah. So there's a character called Susie, which I thought that she was so sharp in how she portrayed, her part there. And it was like, it kind of like gave that initial, like, comedic nature on the film. Afterwards, there was comedy here and there, but that part, with her in in it, it was very well executed, I would say. So yeah. So throughout the film, we initially we already impressed, like, by the sound design, in the film, the special effects and so on. So now let's maybe even talk about, like, make my case, actually, why you didn't like to go into this film and watch it in a particular way. So the first part of the film, it's you actually, when you watch it, you actually think, oh, it's kind of silly, right? It's kind of silly or whatever. You have, like, the beautiful, like, effects and scenery and so on. But you think, oh, this is kind of silly, it's putting me off and whatever. But then when it gets to the second part of the film, it's kind of like it made sense why that part was so, like, was done that way. It made kind of sense, because it's actually, like, part of the storyline, and actually part of even the bit that was like constructed, for that moment. Okay, so then we have, like the second part, which is, kind of like the beginning of the action, and and also puts you in doubt still, if that, well, if what happens, it's real or not. I'm going to put it like that, so I won't spoil it. So I think that the way that they played around with this doubt, I think it was also well constructed, because, I mean, if you're not familiar, like, with the series, you're not gonna have doubt and whatever. But if you're not familiar, maybe you're gonna have some doubt there, and it plays a bit with what you're thinking. Anyway, and then we have like the third part of the film, right? Which is like action packed and whatever. And I think they did really really a good job, like, uh, maintaining the rhythm through all of these parts. And also at some moments, especially in the third part, I got kind of like a sense of, like, Star Wars Return of the Jedi, feeling or vibe. So this for sure, this director is a fan of Star Wars. If you watch that, so this was interesting. You At some points, it was even kind of like really reminded you of some scenes of Return of the Jedi. But anyway, it had, like, those. emotional moments, but in I would say that in a dose that it doesn't drag, like the movie, like slowly. It really maintained a very good rhythm. So the reason that I watched it twice is that in the first time around, the cinema has some technical issues, so I didn't get to watch, like especially the ending. I didn't get to watch. Then I had to watch it again. I got like a coupon or whatever, like to make up for it. But anyway, I watched it again, and the ending of the film, it was really worth, like watching it, like fully again. So yeah, so I watched it fully twice, and the second time around, I didn't get bored. Is even knowing everything that was gonna happen. It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie, but it's a light spirited movie. It's totally goes, like against, like for what they have been doing with the superhero films, but which I actually love, like the superhero films. But I would say that this would be like the trap, about this film. If you go into it thinking it's going to be, like in that spirit of the superhero film, is it's not. It's a fantasy movie. It's a light spirited movie. It does contain, like those moral messages that the cartoon contained and is famous for, and lots of times actually. So another aspect that really impressed me in this film was the kind of like the color palette, and the color schema, which not only it's like very very modern. I'm kind of like into web design and graphic design and so on. So I do have like a unique perspective in terms of like visual arts and what's happening, nowadays, in terms of web and animation and so on. So it's very very modern what they did with the colors, but also it maintained, like a faithful, I would say tones, with the cartoon. This was really really awesome how they how they really achieved, something with the visuals. At some point it's even psychedelic, and there were, I would say, like bits here and there in the cartoon that were kind of psychedelic, very well done, very well done in terms of visuals and colors and creating, like that unique universe, what that it's very very hard to do, and it's a key piece when that helps, convince the audience that they're in that world, that they're creating. It's hard, and it was very well done. Few movies can achieve this one, in my opinion, did a job. So my verdict here is that it was a very very good faithful adaptation to the screens, and I'm actually very happy with it. I would put this like, this is what Masters of the Universe in 1987 should have been, and I think they also tried to do it in a way that it feels like an 80s or a 90s movie, especially with some of the soundtrack. What they did with the soundtrack in this film, I mean, not only uh, with a custom, the score design, the symphony or whatever, but also they put like some pop music, like into the film, but of course like in the 80s or the 90s and so on. And they did it beautifully. Some scenes are really, man, some scenes are really really beautifully edited and kind of like put together, so kudos to those. It was for sure a very hard film to do, like in terms of like meeting expectations on the for the fans or newcomers and the children and whatever. I would say that this, like, overall, it's a very good movie. I actually, I hope that that it does better in the cinema. It, I think it has, like potential, like to be one of the great releases. And yeah, I think if you're into He-Man, this is for you if you're into fantasy movies. This is for you. This is not for you if you're expecting maybe a very hard, dark superhero film. Then you're gonna be let down. But otherwise, this is a family movie. Watch it with your childrens. You get some good laughs. You get some actually intelligent comedy parts. Like that goes out of the context and so on. It's good. It's good. Skeletor is great. Jared Leto, I think he did a great job. Not only in the uh, in the gestures, but with I'm not sure how they produced that voice. I think it was a very good translation of the voice. Like a remake of the voice from the cartoon character. It's different from the voice, but it's heavy. I think it translates well with the character. So, and also how the style, right, that he speaks, it's very, very well thought. Yeah, so basically happy with this one. And I hope also, anyone that disagrees fully with my takes on it, please leave your comments here. I like to also hear, where the negative criticism is coming from about this one. And again, encouraging anyone, like to open their own channels and bringing up, like other takes or other movies that have been forgotten about, and maybe you have a new perspective on it, and maybe it's even connecting to some modern theme that we're currently talking about, right? And hope to see you guys in the next one.